Well, as soon as that fires up, we'll project. So we'll call to order. It's 9:05. Um, Public comment. Seeing no one from the public, we'll go right to other business. Review request for a stop sign on My Comment Road at the intersection of Pondview Road. This is carried over from the previous two meetings. Talking with the DPW yesterday, there's really not a lot to report on this item this month.
No.
Other than taking a drive, it does look like there was some clearing of the corners of at the intersection, clearing some vegetation. I don't know who did that, but I guess it's a slight improvement. I don't think it's anywhere near what we would all expect as a good clearing for sightlines, but it's better than the existing condition. So we'll go ahead and just table that again for next month to see if there's any progress. Item number 2, the Lovers Lane, Orkawa, Montahasset road improvements. This is a running item to review plans for those Surfside area roads. And again, talking to DPW, I don't think there's anything new to report for that. I don't think there's any public outreach meetings planned in the future.
No.
But if there is anything new, we'll bring
They're gonna
up.
pave that in the future, they repave it, grind it up again like they did on the other road?
Yeah,
Lovers
I think
Lane.
the idea is to provide 2 paved travel lanes and a paved bike path along at least on the Orkawa Montahasset, the
Yes.
south side and the east side of those roads, and then along Lovers Lane along the west side. And there's some discussion with the Camp Richard and State Forest folks about having the path along an existing trail along the edge of the road. It would be something like 30 feet or something separated from the roadway. But it does seem like to be some productive discussions with those groups to have it along an existing trail. Again, to give that aesthetic.
It's kind of small, but it's in the package with the bike path and the road. I was going to show you on here, but it's kind of small. Yeah, the layout for the boulevard and the Lovers Lane. And Orcor and
Macy.
Montahasset. Yeah, I better not pronounce these names.
I can't spell them, so we'll go ahead and just table that for next month. If there was anything new to report, we'll talk about it at the December meeting. Item 3, review request for a no parking along the entire length of First Way. Again, this is carried over from the last meeting. I don't have any new material. I think where we left this off was where the parking was signed, and where we should allow bus parking, if at all, along that way. But I don't have anything new in the packet to share with you all, other than noticing that what I did notice before was some no parking signs along the Surfside end of First Way.
But none on the other end?
On the Hooper Farm Road
Right.
end, it's signed no parking either side, essentially from Calpine Lane to Hooper Farm Road.
Right.
On the section from Calpine Lane to Surfside Road, I just found one area that was signed no parking, and that was along the old teen center or the new administrative
I think
buildings.
that's good to keep that no parking along there because, once we put that in, that took a lot of weight off Sparks Avenue.
Yeah,
And if you're gonna take the weight off Sparks Avenue, move it over to there, you need to keep it no parking,
yeah. I think the idea is
especially in
to
the summertime.
exactly. If there's if anyone has anything to discuss on that item, we can talk about it now, or just hold this off until next month.
I had a couple of constituents who were concerned about that, saying that they're concerned about the school buses and the kids with the traffic because of the parking on both sides and the buses trying to get through and the kids are walking. And
Yeah.
say it's a potential hazard.
Were they walking in the roadway? Or
I
just
didn't get
crossing?
Crossing.
Okay.
I didn't get the impression that he was walking in the roadway. Crossing and the buses trying to get through with, 'cause I believe it's two-way traffic there, right? And
Yes.
there's still parking, so basically they have to take turns and the buses end up getting stuck. People are trying to get around the buses.
Mike, is this what's in the packet, is it, we're talking the specific complaint of the van that's always parked between the parking and Cow Pond, or are we talking, I know it says in the packet the entire length.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost one of those, like we've been dealing with, whether it was My Comment Road or other places with the on-street parking on the side.
No, this is the complaint that was the genesis of this discussion. Was the van parked at that location?
Yeah, cause that Sparks Ave side of the road has a split rail that runs just about the entire length, so there's no parking on that side.
Exactly.
That protects the bike paths. We're really just talking about the Surfside side of the street.
Mm-hmm.
He's kicking his can down the road, I guess, is one of them.
Is that on the northern end?
So the
Okay.
north, it would be on the.
Well, the south side has no split rail. The north side does
no,
have
the
split
north
rail.
where it does, right?
Yeah.
I was getting complaints about the north side. That
So that would be the Surfside end
okay.
Okay.
ish, right? Yeah.
Um,
And that's the administration for the school and then residents on the right.
And I hadn't gone out to witness the traffic or anything, so that's something if we can
Yeah.
go do that, then that's fine.
okay. Let's go and table that the next month, and I'll try to put something in the packet about the existing condition and something that's proposed so that we can take action.
I guess
It
the
should have
only
been done
thing
for this
to
meeting.
consider with that is that main crosswalk from the parking that goes across to the school. Is there any, Bill, is there any regulations you shouldn't, for clear line of sight for a crosswalk or anything like that, or no?
Not really. Intersection, but there's crossing guards there, so
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a problem. And it's one of these things that, again, they're there because there's nowhere else to go. And at school pickup time, during school sporting events, I'm not sure what you're gonna do if we make that no parking.
Yeah, I don't either.
It'll just be another nail in the,
We're just moving a car from one spot to another spot.
yep.
Yeah. And I hadn't verified anything, so I don't know if it's strictly a complaint or if it's an actual issue.
And down by the admin building, if you take the parking away there, there's nowhere for people who have admin business to park, to get into the building. So that I think would be, the school would object to that. I think they should weigh in on this whole thing, actually.
Yeah.
But,
I think that's where I did see the no parking signs, though, is right against the other side of the building there. Again, it's so much more helpful if we have like a graphic to look at, so I'll try to prepare something for next meeting and we can talk about it.
they don't have visitor parking in the parking lot,
Very few
except for
spots. if they
a
have any.
couple of handicap spots.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think that sign you're talking about, I don't think that's a town sign.
Not only
Yeah,
that.
we posted that because I don't have it on my map, and I'm almost positive that the last one I've having installed was down by Cow Pond where the ice hockey rink footpath comes out, that's the last sign from there, the Hooper Farms posted,
Okay.
but it's never been posted the other way.
I think, yeah,
Probably
Okay.
not even our sign. And so,
got a feeling it belongs to that resident right there.
yeah, probably.
Across the street?
Yep.
All right, let's go view screen. And we'll fast forward this to where we are in the packet. Oops, way past here.
Yeah.
So there's the photo of the issue. If there's no objection, we'll go ahead and just table this for next month, and we'll have a better graphic to take a look at. Next item on the agenda is review proposed traffic circulation plan for Nantucket Elementary School. At our last meeting on October 23rd, I handed this off to Angus McVicker, who I believe was going to coordinate with the
My
school
understanding-
resource officer. Is
My
that right?
understanding, they're already doing this, so,
Okay.
and it's working fine.
Good. I think the ask was to, you can see vaguely the red areas that are, the red lines that are here, and I think that was the ask, was to actually put arrows and center lines and to better delineate.
That's their problem.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be the schools?
That's the schools.
exactly, and I
And
think
I
that
believe
was,
they've already done it.
have they done this?
I think so.
It had to have been very recently. Well, I haven't been down there in the last few weeks to take a look at it.
They hired somebody to go and do some.
Yeah, striping and a bunch of stuff.
This is in the last couple of weeks?
I-
Yeah.
In the last month, yeah.
Okay. Well, good. We'll go ahead and, well, in that case, we'll, on this item, we'll take no action and take that off the agenda. action. And the, oh geez. There we go. The next item is a review of a White Elephant Hotel residence request for accessible parking space on South Beach Street. There is a map in the packet, but there's not a location being requested to designate as an accessible parking space. I was really going to lean on Mickey, who's not here today, to have the Commission on Disability make a recommendation to us. If that's all right, I'll just talk to him offline and just ask them to, at their next meeting, discuss this and provide us with some guidance so that we can talk about this a little more productively.
Was it in front of one of the cottages doing this?
Yes, it's a condition from the planning board that they talk with the town about providing an accessible parking space on street.
Okay.
And I believe this was in lieu of providing it on site. But anyway, we'll talk about.
Well, that's pretty convenient for them, isn't it? Screw the rest of the town and help themselves. I say they put it on their site.
Yeah.
They got parking over there. They got plenty of parking.
Yeah. I believe the argument is there's just no accessible parking spaces on South Beach at all, the entire length. So I think that was the anyway, we'll refer this to Mickey and the Commission on Disability and ask for a recommendation from them. If there's no objection, we'll table that for December and wait for a recommendation back. And we do have a few other items before we close for the site visit. So any other business at all that's not on the agenda? Yes, Steve?
Yes, son. We have a local who is trying to improve his property on 1 Washington,
Okay.
and it's being contested. Baltimore Street, according to our map, and I'm sorry I don't have anything good to distribute out. I tried to make a copy of it and it didn't come out very well. But Baltimore is being contested. The claim is that the property owner of 1 Washington owns what we use as Baltimore Street right now. And is according to what they. Oh, I'm sorry.
Automatic, right?
Yeah.
Yes, this is in Matticat. It's a small sliver of Baltimore Street, not the whole length of it. Right next to the triangle. If that gets closed off, it's going to affect the NRTA, and it could affect emergency operations. So
Okay.
that's become a question. The road widths and property lines have come into question. So I'm just want to let you know that's being researched, and we may have issues with that.
How could it be closed? Is it a,
It went from what coming from Andrew on
yeah,
this
but
one.
it's
It's
an
a
open way
private,
right now, right?
It's a private roadway, so they'd have to go through land court, and they'd have to have both property owners petition to
But
close it.
yeah, but they also have to get Board of Selectmen approval. And that would be according to our bylaw. So,
Yeah.
The way it was brought up to me was through a curb cut application. I approved the initial one, not understanding what the yard sale was. And then when another submission was made, I was able to tell that, he put the property on top of Baltimore, so that came into question. Then some other constituents brought it to my attention, like, look, this has been discussed in other areas. We need, you guys need to keep this conversation going. This is not just us fussing, this is an actual problem.
Oh, it's a yard sale issue.
Initially, but the
Okay.
contractor
Yeah.
said
Well,
that
that
the
might be
yard sale
different
was
then.
not requested or submitted, so they
Okay.
withdrew that design.
Okay.
They submitted a new design,
Yeah.
which I was inclined to approve until I realized it's still over the existing road.
Yeah.
So, and the dimensions are different. The physical dimensions are about 11 feet wide.
Mhm.
The survey dimensions are supposedly 40 feet, which would go
Yeah.
into the brush.
Yeah.
But then the property owner next door, I'm sure he'll have a question on where his property line is. So I'm thinking we're gonna have to do some surveying
Yeah.
to confirm all these measurements first.
Sure.
We need to confirm the property lines. We need to confirm the street widths, and to see what, according to town law, we are allowed or not allowed to do with a private roadway. If they do have a legal right to it. And it affects our emergency operations and our transportation. Is there anything we can do about that? I discussed it briefly with Paula.
Yeah, Paula, can you, this is being recorded, so if you could go to the microphone.
And just as a matter of a point of information, Andrew Vorse said there was no yard sale involving the town on this property.
Oh, okay, well, that's helpful
So
to know.
this is,
Yes, and the contractor stated that as well. He withdrew it after I questioned him on it and said, no, there is no yard sale.
and they've not received anything in planning from land court that they're eliminating the way. And if they are to proceed, the town will get notification that they're doing that, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the map to cooperate. It's painfully slow this morning.
It's because it's so cold.
That has to have something to do with it. Yes, Paula. And again, just to be clear, this is the area we're
Yeah,
talking
that's
about.
the
this little
road,
strip.
and if you notice that, the growth, the trees and the bushes on the right side of Baltimore, as we're looking at it, that's
All this.
the agent or agency or contractor is stating that that's actually Baltimore.
No, that sounds about right. The property lines, the layout lines are definitely a lot wider than what the improved way, I mean, it's a dirt road, but it's a lot wider than that. Yes, Paula.
Paula Leary, NRTA Administrator, and just maybe a little background because I don't really know the issues with Baltimore Street, but this kind of came up, more Washington Ave access came up because of a ZBA item with construction going on at 10 Washington Ave, which I believe is that corner house at Baltimore. And myself and some area residents were concerned and went to the ZBA because of contractors parking on Washington Ave that makes that road unpassable or creates issues of driving in people's lawns, which I would question is actually town property, and sprinklers and that. And because the NRTA bus travels down D Street from Matticat Road to Washington Ave, and then out Washington Ave so we can make the turnaround in Matticat to the bus stop at Millie's. So last winter when there was, or last summer when there was construction going down on further down C Street from Washington Ave, all the contractors were parking along there, and the bus could not get through. So we used that portion of Baltimore Street, which was not ideal at all. Dirt road, lots of bumps, but it was our only alternative. So I think some of the property owners out there and myself do have concerns more with Washington Ave and the encroachments. Traffic safety may remember several years ago the issue with the Hobson DuPont property on the corner of D Street where their hedges and a lot of other things are in the town right of way. I think there's a lot of sprinklers. I get a lot of calls about running over sprinkler heads because of the narrowness of the road with parking on it, especially the larger vehicles. So that's just kind of why I'm here. And I happened to run into Steve and get a chance to meet him for the first time. And we just kind of briefly talked about it. And his suggestion was just that he would bring it to traffic safety. So those are just my concerns. Baltimore being private, you know, if it were closed and any obstructions were on Washington Ave, then the Matticat route bus would have no alternative for cutting down from Matticat to that street.
Sure. And just to be clear, you go from Matticat to Washington via Baltimore, correct? Is that the circulation you go counterclockwise
No, that was
around?
just a deviation when we couldn't get down Washington Ave because of construction on C Street. The routing is D Street.
Okay, but this temporary route that you're taking is Matticat up Baltimore
Yes.
to Washington and around the corner
Correct.
here.
Yes.
And typically it's to go up D and all the way down.
Yes.
While you're here, and just for giggles,
Somehow I
With
doubt
this-
that.
would a circulation using D, Washington, and then Baltimore, and then having the stop on Baltimore itself, would that be
No.
a better condition at all
No.
for?
No,
okay.
it's if we can get down Washington, the routing is that we're doing is the best.
The only reason I bring that up is we had talked about it at a planning commission meeting about.
Without me,
this-
you can't. I told you can't talk about NRTA stuff without
I can't
me.
control if Jack Gardner wants to bring up an NRTA issue at a planning commission meeting.
If it's Jack, then it's fine.
But the issue is when we were talking about a previous recommendation that this board made about parking on bike paths. And the fact that the bus does stop on the bike path at this location, and that was the only wrinkle to that whole discussion of that regulation. And we were brainstorming about what are the alternatives, because we all knew that the bus needed to stop. In Mattocket, it had to, right? And there just weren't a lot of options.
Making progress.
This does start to reveal itself as maybe an option, but it is a private way. If it was
Right.
improved and to an immaculate condition, could that be a place to relocate the bus if there was shelter, pull off, sight lines, all these things? And the gain would be to get the bus would no longer be on the bike path. That would be the gain. Would that be something that would be worth exploring, considering, listing as a potential option?
No.
Okay.
Why would that be even an option, even if Baltimore's private? And
If-
they're
if-
trying to get rid of it as it is.
Right.
What makes you think they would give you a bus stop?
Yeah, if
No,
they want to
no,
get rid of it, they're not going to want to pave it. And
Yeah, again, the only reason I bring that up is the lack of options when we were discussing that one issue of if we had to relocate the bus, where could we relocate it to? That means not the bus stop. And there just weren't a lot of options. I mean,
no, there aren't. And you know, over the years, I mean, the Mattocket bus has been running for 21 years with that same routing. It works well. We're carrying 500, 600 people a day to and from Mattocket in the height of the season. I think, and a lot of people are Millie's people, beach people. The residents from that general area use the bus. I think that there would be some resistance, even though it's not that far, but we all know how people are,
literally across the
relocating
street.
it. Well, it's not across the street, but, and that's why I say, even though it's a short distance, I think that would be impactable, detrimentally.
But where you bring all those people to Millie's, could Millie's give you a little more land so you can push in a little?
We got a little more when they redid the restaurant out there. We met with them. We got a little bit. They improved the area a little bit. The plan that I had didn't get approved. You know, I wanted the little more land and the pull off, and them to do a shelter and some nice benches and have a bike rack area. But whoever
They don't have
makes
much
those
space, no
decisions.
doubt. But yet the people with the baby carriages and walking and whatnot are walking in the road, going by the bus. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I think, and I don't disagree, not just because I would never disagree with you, but, you know, that bus is there for a very short period of time. You know, it's not sitting there for 10 or 15 minutes.
All right. Do you want to carry this over for next month for discussion?
Oh, yes,
Okay,
please.
we'll add that to the December agenda.
Mike, will you let me know when that is, please?
Yes, and we probably should talk about meeting dates, but we'll probably.
What exactly are we gonna talk about? Because there's really nothing in our court
Yeah.
yet.
What are we being asked?
Steve?
Well, that may be a good point. Basically, well, on my plate, I have to get everything, figure out who's going to survey it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the contractor who's going to survey. The property owner needs to survey it and just confirm that that street is indeed their property before we move any further with it.
Is that on B Street?
Oh no, yeah, on B Street. Because until I get that confirmation, there's really nothing else to be done, I guess. And then we need to confirm how wide Baltimore actually is, and I guess we can move from there. So until then, there may be nothing to discuss right now, but
Okay.
it may come back up again.
Is there something that this group wants to look at with the encroachments on Washington Ave? I mean, I know this is kind of beyond the Baltimore Street issue, but
That'd be a DPW function, actually,
Yeah.
out there. Paul, if Washington Street, that construction was not on Washington Street, would it be an issue for the bus?
Actually, the construction was way down on C Street, but that's a little narrow road, so all the big box trucks and contractors and everything were parking along Washington Ave.
But once that construction's done and they're gone, is it still an issue?
Only sometimes, you get big parkers and illegal parkers and people parking on both sides, like anywhere at any given time. That can happen.
Is that road signed at all?
Yes, I believe it is.
Yes, there's signs.
And that's and then the other issue,
Sign no
Chief,
parking?
no,
No, it's
that
not
is
sign no
parking.
parking.
The other issue gets back to the encroachments because the people have their hedges and nice grass and their sprinkler heads, and people are parking on those.
Well, that's not our problem, really.
We
Yeah,
used to have no parking on Washington Ave, more or less from that white driveway down to the corner.
Yeah, because of the Millie's
Too much to get
issues, yeah. And it becomes an issue if somebody is parked on the other side, then you can't really get through. Steve, I'm happy to work with you or
Oh, yeah.
look at,
Yeah, we
look
could
at that.
get a meeting date to
yeah. Maybe Mike can get some maps.
work with Rob, and
Probably no
we
parking on the south
basically
side
need
of it,
to
or
get
southeast side,
the
and then
surveyors
allow parking.
for that property, and I'm very curious to see what Washington and Baltimore is supposed to be, what the actual road widths are, and see what we can do about it.
Yep.
Okay, just so you know, I mean, you see some hedges here on some properties. I mean, this hedge here is basically the layout line. I mean, it's an extremely wide layout of Washington Avenue.
Oh, we get to take
Yeah,
a
I think
lot of
it's-
stuff.
Yeah, see, I
Which
saw
is
50
why
feet,
this-
but the actual road is like 12. So
You're exactly right. I think this issue came up previously about we knew that there was parking along Washington Avenue, along the north side. There was split rail being installed along the edge of the roads, and that was in the public way. So, I mean, this gets to the parking inventory for Millie's, and that split rail had to be moved back so that people that were going to Millie's could actually park along that road. Again, it's along someone's frontage, but the parking is high demand in this area. So you just have to eliminate all the encroachments so you can accommodate some parking in reasonable
Gotcha.
places.
Well, I'm available if you take it on.
But yeah,
Thanks.
but I do understand what you guys are saying. It's more than one issue, and it all falls in our lap right now. So
Yeah.
until we get everything laid out,
Okay.
it's probably not an issue for the group just yet.
Okay, so just
So-
table this and not necessarily put it on the December
Yeah,
meeting?
you just
Okay.
table it for right now.
Okay,
But it's appreciated that you guys weighed in on it. Thank you.
very good. Just talking about other businesses,
Am I missing
everyone,
something?
Alright. There's no parking?
Yep.
Maybe make it one side, the other parking. Because right now it is only posted from 6 down, which is about, well, right on that triangle, it's actually about,
Yeah, right
about
up there.
down.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the only place that's ever been posted for no parking. And that was mainly to make, so the bus can make the corner. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought I heard you guys talk about maybe making one reason. I'm just letting you know it wasn't posted to us for that.
I asked Mike if it was on one side or not, and I think it would make sense to me, but what I wouldn't want to do is bring that forward, have one side be made no parking, and then the next meeting have 30 people in here with pitchforks.
There will be, because that's a busy road in the summer.
Yeah, no, this is a highly contentious issue.
Yeah, so we'll clear up the property lines and the road access and work on it. It could end up being a plan like Lovers Lane and Boulevard where we have to, and it may have to be tabled for a future date where we can expand on the road.
Yeah.
That's a suggestion I'm going to have, but that's ultimately up to
Yeah.
to Rob and whoever we make as a committee to discuss.
Exactly. We can talk policy, exactly what is a proposal that we can actually bring to traffic safety to bring to the select board. Will do. Just talking about, again, on the item of other business, our next meeting is December 20th. Everyone available for that date?
I am.
Is it? When is it, December 20th?
Yes.
Okay.
Thursday, December 20th at 10:30.
It's a Thursday.
It's a possibility. I just-
Yeah,
No.
I'm probably leaving on vacation that day.
Okay. high probability we may not have a December meeting.
I'm flexible. That's my job.
Jack,
Whatever y'all decide, I'll make it work.
Jack, what's your availability, or when you
Yeah, I don't leave for Florida until the end of January.
end of January?
And
Okay,
the
so
eight- the 18th would be better, on Tuesday if we could do it.
Tuesday the 18th.
Let's see, wait a minute.
Okay.
No, that won't work. I'm off island
Okay.
for Cape meeting.
Maybe the
Alright.
20th, I think I can make that.
The 20th? Okay. Well, we'll hold it on the 20th. We don't have a quorum. We don't have a quorum. All right. Approval of minutes from October 23rd. If there's no corrections, we'll accept those.
Motion.
Second.
Steve Murphy and Steve Arsenault. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So that's unanimous. And the next item is a site visit on New Whale Street. So we'll recess the meeting. I believe that's the exercise. We'll recess the meeting and reconvene on site at New Whale Street and Straight Wharf.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, Paul.
How you doing there?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Doing good?